waiting for it to start. Okay, just a sec here. There we go. Okay, so welcome to the live. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on my website, it's BratBusters.com. You can see my free behavior board, my courses, coaching. There's a big wait list, but I will get to you eventually. Or you can listen to our podcast. It's called BratBusters Parenting Podcast. It's on all the platforms, and we save it on YouTube if you want to watch us. My daughter and I work together, and we do the podcast together. I think my favorite thing about my business is coaching. And my second favorite is, maybe my favorite's doing my podcast with my daughter. It's the only time we ever work together. We both work in the company, but our jobs are so different. She does the back end marketing, planning, and all that stuff. And then I'm forefront of the business. So, but yeah, anyway, so that's the podcast. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, we did release about a month ago. We released a 7-podcast series, all the basics of BratBusters, parenting, different ages, different topics, but all the basic information. So that's on YouTube, BratBusters Parenting. It's in the playlist if you're interested in that. Okay, so let's get going with your parenting questions. I'll do my best to answer them. And what I do whenever I'm on a live, I'm on YouTube the whole time, which is where I save my lives. And then I hop from Facebook to Instagram to TikTok. I go from my smallest platform up to my biggest one. Have I got anyone on TikTok or YouTube? Yeah, I've got one person on there. YouTube's my smallest platform. It's not social media, but we just hit 50,000 last week. So I'm very happy about that. Okay, just popping in for a moment to say thank you for all your advice. Spokane, Washington. Hi, Stephanie. So we're neighbors. I've actually been to Spokane a couple of times when I was a kid, many, many years ago. Well, because obviously I'm 65. It was many, many years ago that I was a kid. My dad used to build sailboats, and he had some clients in Spokane. They were kind of friends, so we used to go down there. Thanks, Kiana. Appreciate that. Catherine from Maine. Oh, sorry. I'm just going to scroll ahead to make sure you're still here when I'm answering. Do you have a podcast or a class about potty training? How can I start? Potty training is really only covered in my course because it's a whole system. It's quite involved. So I don't have a podcast just on that. Sorry, but if you want to know about potty training, it is a whole system I have. It's in both of my boot camp courses. But if that's all you're interested in, personally, I wouldn't bother buying the whole course if that's all you're interested in. Obviously, I'm not in sales. Okay. How do I get my partner on board with your methods? Yeah, I don't know. I can't help you manage adults. Yeah. What I usually say to people is that if you like my methods and they're not on board with it, just say, look, you don't want to parent this way. I want to parent the other way. How about we flip a coin, see who goes first? We each get 3 weeks to, go in on our particular methods, and whatever works, right? So if you give my methods 3 weeks and they don't work, say, well, she's an idiot, and then go on to what he wants to do. Practical and common sense. It is, though. Thanks, Mitzi. It's just practical, yeah. It's the way I look at it. What's an appropriate consequence? Check out my free behavior board. It goes into all that. And don't get caught up in what the consequences are. That's just a minor detail. Just make sure there is one. Oh, thanks, Jasmine. It's on YouTube. She said, I really want to say thank you to both you and your daughter for spreading information. My daughter does the podcast with me. She organizes all that. So I never know what we're going to be talking about. I don't like planning anything. I'm not good at that. I need to just think off the cuff. I'll be implementing your chart starting tomorrow. Good for you. I have 5 kiddos. Wow. 3 to 15. I can't say what it is, but I have a client who has a lot of kids extremely close in age. I don't know how you do it. Oklahoma. Hi, Charity. And this is Alicia. How should I handle an 18-month-old that has tantrums of smacking and pulling my hair? That just came up today in something. It was, we did some filming a podcast and that came up. I'm wondering if you entered that question. I think it was an 18-month-old. Oh no, I don't have it written down anymore. It was pulling. Anyway, what I said to that is if they're pulling your hair and smacking you, don't allow them to do that. Like, don't bend forward with your hair hanging in front of them to pull. Don't give them the hair to pull. And also, if you are carrying them around and they're getting all upset and their hair pulling, turn them around, have them facing out, and put your hand on the back of their head so they can't headbutt you and hurt you or themselves. So yeah, and also if they're hitting you, you just say no, and then you hold their hands for a minute or you redirect. They're still kind of a baby at that stage. I always say they're toddlers from 16 to 35 months, but it's kind of a gray area in there. So yeah, you can redirect or just hold their hand and say no if they're hitting. And if they're tantruming, you ignore them. I have tons of videos out there on tantrums, so you might want to check that out. Can I use a reward system for trying to get a 5-year-old to eat faster? Consequences have been backfiring, causing negative behavior. Okay, I don't like to talk a lot about eating, and I'll tell you why. They got to eat, so I don't like to attach discipline to anything food related. But, I do that with my granddaughter. Like, she loves watching videos of herself. So if she's eating and she doesn't feel like, she just doesn't like what she's eating or whatever, I'll say, well, I'll turn the video, but every time you take a bite, I'll turn the video back on. I'm the grandmother, so I do get into bribery with that. So her mom's brilliant at getting her to eat. I don't know how she does it. I'm not very good at it because I'm grandma, right? So yeah, I don't like to talk about discipline around food. Okay. That's on YouTube. Oh, that is perfect. Oh yeah, I've got 7 kids ages 3 to 12 that nicely fit into your age group. That's good. That's my boot camp course, goes from 3 to 12 years old. That's cute. 7 kids. Wow. Good for you. You must be very busy. You know what's interesting is with the huge families, which I consider 6 and above kids, that's a pretty big family. They rarely have problems with sharing because they're so used to always having siblings around that they don't get possessive of things. So it's interesting. The bigger the family, the less likely they are to have issues around sharing, which I would have thought it would have been a disaster, but no. Oh, thanks, Jim. My kids were born and raised in Australia. My son was born in Sydney, my daughter in Brisbane, which is where we spent most of our time. I only came back to Canada. I married an Australian. That's why I went down there. I only came back to Canada because my mom was elderly and not doing very well. So that's the only reason that we left Australia. Otherwise, I would have stayed there forever. I loved Australia. Hi, Coco. St. Petersburg, Florida. I don't know why I got tongue-tied there. Okay, Carissa, what do I do if they don't do the chore and then they go to 24-hour screen blackout, but then they do the behavior? Yeah, okay. This comes up a lot. So let's say on my behavior board, this is 3 and above. You can start the behavior board. So what she's saying is they break the rule. So then she does the first consequence, which they won't do. The first consequence is usually a good deed or a chore. So they won't do that. So then if they won't do that first consequence, then you say, well, okay, now we got 24-hour media blackout. So you offer them to do a chore to make up for the rule they broke. If they won't do that, then you take something away. Okay. The first one is a positive action. The second one is a negative deprivation consequences. Anyway, so what she's saying is, what if they keep acting up, they keep breaking the rule during that 24 hours? Nothing you can do. You just say, well, that's why you've got media blackout. Okay. That's about all you can do. You're investing in tomorrow. There's nothing. Everyone wants to know, how do I fix everything right in the moment? With toddlers, you do address everything right in the moment, but it's not going to be fixed right away. It takes time with toddlers, repetition. But yeah, if they've got 24-hour media blackout, your hands are tied. Just say, well, that's why you've got 24-hour media blackout. They will eventually learn. They don't want to get that again. Okay. So yeah, your hands are kind of tied. It was really cute. I had a client who was telling me that, I've told this lots of times, little 7-year-old boy, and he'd had 24-hour media blackout. He finally got his PlayStation back. He didn't know mom was listening. And he said to himself, whew, I won't be doing that again. I thought that was so cute. He understood that he chose to do that. All he had to do was not break the rule, or if he did, then he just had to do the chore. He broke the rule, then he wouldn't do the chore, and then he got 24-hour media blackout, but he didn't do it again. He learned, right? You're investing in tomorrow. Okay, good question. This is Heidi on YouTube. What do I do when my toddler, 2 years and 10 months, is having a tantrum and tries to crawl into my lap? Okay, don't have a lap. Stand up. You don't provide them with a lap. So you just stand up and then, pretend you're filing your nails or whatever. Grabs my hand, trying to pull me. Do the dishes or something. If they're pulling at you, just let them. Okay, if they're really hitting you or something, you might just don't look at them. You might just sort of grab their hands and sort of hold on to them while they're pulling. So to prevent them from hitting you. And then just for a minute or so, then let go. If they start up again, you hold their hand again. You still don't look at them or talk to them. They're just trying to get you to look at them, you see. Okay. Well, this is Kimberly. My 4-year-old is pouring milk on other kids' trays at school. What do I do about this? Just say the teachers will be telling me when that happens, and there'll be a consequence when we get home. So put down no pouring, no messing up other kids' trays or something like that. Okay, you're not going to like my answer. This is AA Naba on YouTube. How to manage tantrum in 4 and 5-year-old. If I let them cool down on their own, it will take longer. Yes, you want it to take longer. The longer, the bigger the tantrum, the bigger the lesson, okay? And how to stop kids hitting. Okay, that's another question. Anyway, but yeah, you want that big crescendo. You want that big fit. The bigger the fit, the bigger the meltdown, the bigger the tantrum, the bigger the lesson. So you never want to stop a tantrum. That's their business. It's not your business. Their tantrum is up to them. So yeah, so what if they go on for a while? Like, that's up to them. That's their choice. You can't help someone self-regulate. They can only do it themselves. And your calm leadership, when you're just waiting for that tantrum to end, that is the lesson. They will eventually learn that, you know what? I'm never going to get attention having this crazy tantrum, so I'll just stop having them. Past the age of 3.5 to 4, they only do what works. If they're still having tantrums, it means that you must be feeding it somehow. It must be working. You must be giving into it or giving them attention. Oh, that tea is good. I haven't been on here for a while. I don't know why. I don't know what happened. I was on a good run there for a while. I actually used to do lives for about 2 years. I did them almost every single day. And then I got really super busy. Business got crazy. And then we've regulated it. My daughter came on board full time. And then I just never quite got back into the habit of daily lives. I love doing them. Okay, good. So this is Jody Ann. Not a question, but I just want to say thank you. My 11-year-old has started watching your reels with me, so she understands and is on board with how we teach the 1-year-old. Yeah, she's not the leader. She's just the older sister of the 1-year-old. The thing is that usually when kids do watch this, they get that it's for them too, because you have to be accountable. If you're not on that behavior board, if you're not accountable to your kids, you're not a leader. You're just a dictator. The old-fashioned authority, my way or the highway, do what I say, not what I do, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, leaders are accountable. You want to be vulnerable and accountable. You want to show them, hey, look, it's okay to mess up. We all do sometimes, but we've got to be accountable for that, right? Oh, you asked me about psych evaluations. I'm not qualified to discuss that. Yeah, I have no formal qualifications. And also, I often work in conjunction with all that stuff. So I teach parent-child relationships. That's all I do. Connection, all that stuff. So yeah, that's all I do. I'm just not qualified to discuss that. I always say, if someone's recommended something and it's a doctor and that doesn't nothing to do with me. I don't know nothing about that stuff. Something really dumb I was just doing. I was trying to scroll through the questions on YouTube using my mouse. It doesn't work that way. I got mixed up with Facebook. I scroll through the questions here. Okay. Alicia, I'm not going to answer that. I wouldn't put it on the board, but I might put it on the board in code. But even that, anything bodily function oriented, I don't like to have discipline attached to that. So I wouldn't put that on the board. Yeah, I don't know, but I don't really want to discuss that here because of his age too. There's a lot of men that are like that too, by the way, so. Oh, that's cute, Jody Ann. Okay, you have to put the age down. I was just going to answer something, but I need an age. Sometimes I can answer without it, but usually I need an age. Suggestions on bedtime for 3 boys, age 4, 2.5, and 2. So you got twins and then a 4-year-old really struggling. Yeah, I do have bedtime battles. It's covered in both of my boot camp courses. But you know what? If you go on, just Google BratBusters bedtime, there'll be a whole bunch of videos that probably cover it. You know, whenever people do a course, except with potty training, because it's a whole system, it's not, I don't have that anywhere out there except in the course. But bedtime, I've talked about it extensively online. So you don't need to buy the course just to get that. Just search it out. But basically when people put a course together, most of that information is already out there. It's just bundled up for you, right? And condensed. But yeah, the bedtime battles, I've got a lot of videos on that. So you can probably just Google BratBusters bedtime. Oh, you're very welcome, Karen. Oh, I don't know if anyone on Facebook used to follow Joel Mayo. Now, this was a person who was scamming. He was using my videos and making a lot of money. He was selling subscriptions, but not delivering anything. So we were getting emails complaining that they bought the subscription. I guess they did some digging and found me thinking I was Joel Mayo. Anyway, it took a whole year, but because we've been trying to shut him down for a whole year now, they shut him down. I think it was yesterday morning. They shut him down and told us. So yeah, he's shut down. If anyone was following Joel Mayo, he was just a scammer out there using my videos. He's probably doing that with tons of other people too. It didn't bother me. You know, I just thought, oh, well, you know, I'm sure lots of people are doing that. I know lots of people are using my videos, but it was just because he was asking for money. That's what bothered me about it. Making money off it. It's just dirty. It's just dirty. So yeah, it took a whole year. I figure that they probably had a lot of, you know, complaints trying to shut. So it just probably takes that long to get to all of them. Okay, so Jessica asked, what can we do besides 24-hour media blackout? Take something away that they like, that they play with every single day. Or you can even buy something to use as leverage to take away, you know. It doesn't have to be anything huge, just something different depending on the age. But yeah, you take something away. I don't know how your household runs. Lots of my clients don't have screens. So we have to take something else away. How do you improve table manners for a 6-year-old? Again, I don't like to use a lot of discipline around mealtime, but mealtime battles is a really common one. It's one of those things that I like to be, routined and habit and structure around is mealtime. So you're talking about manners. I would just say, I'll tell you what, and you got to decide what's manners to you. To me, I could care less about elbows on the table. My kids and I, we used to be rowdy, laughing, talking loud. We just had a blast at mealtime. So I didn't care. You got to decide what's important to you. At what level are manners important to you? And that's a personal choice, right? So, and then you just say, look, it's really important to me. I want you to use utensils instead of your hands. So I don't know, whatever it is. And then you say, but the problem is that it's around mealtime. Oh, I know what I'm thinking, but I don't want to say it because it's not my first choice. Yeah, I would sort of say, look, depending on how bad the manners are, I wouldn't get too fussy with this. But if they're really just shoveling food in with their hands and they're 6 years old, I would say, I want you to use utensils. And if you don't, there'll be a consequence. If they go on the problem is, here's my concern. What if they go on a food strike, like a hunger strike? You know what I'm saying? I'm always worried about that with kids. So yeah, they might say, fine, I won't eat them. Then I would let them eat with their hands. Right? They got to get food into them. So you see, I'm kind of stuck between that. In coaching, I do get into it more extensively, but just generally, I don't like to discipline around food. Is it important? Oh God, you're going to hate me, Macy. Is it important to validate or give words to feelings during tantrums when 24-month-old is working herself up? I calmly bring her to a room, bring out some toys, and explain we can go back to, yeah, I don't do any of that. I just don't. I don't drag it out like that. And I don't discuss tantrums ever. They're just something that they have to learn to get themselves out of. If you intervene in that and don't allow them to just get themselves out of it by you having that calm, just waiting for them to finish, they're going to expect you to save the day with everything. That's one thing they can learn. They have to learn to get themselves out of it. It's not so much getting out of the tantrum. It's using alternatives. Well, wait a minute, I'm upset. maybe I can just do something else instead. Like if I talk nicely to mom, we might play a game instead or something. But yeah, I don't, that's the mini therapy session stuff. I don't do that. But I don't want to criticize you for it. It's just, I don't teach that at all. I actually can't stand it. You say you're allowed to be frustrated. Yeah, I don't do any of that. They're only 2 years old. I don't do any of that. It's kind of, they're not listening to you anyway. It goes in one ear and out the other. They will parrot what you're saying. Oh, okay. It doesn't really sink in. Okay. Oh, shoot. I got to go. I got to go over to Instagram now. So if you want to join me over there, it's BratBusters Parenting. I know on YouTube the whole time. I always stay here. And anyway, so check out my website, BratBusters.com. You can get my free behavior board, look at my courses, coaching, huge wait list, but I'll get to it eventually. Or you can look into the podcast, BratBusters Parenting Podcast. It's on all the platforms, and we save it on YouTube, BratBusters Parenting. I'm going over to Instagram now. Happy parenting. Sorry, YouTube, you're just watching me push buttons. They keep adding more buttons to push. Yes. Oh, they've changed it again. Darn, they keep changing how they do it. Come on. There we go. Okay. There we go. Okay, I'll just wait for people to turn up here on Instagram. Okay. Okay. So I'm just waiting. I'll wait till I get about 100 in Instagram before I start. I never let anyone in on a live. I only did it once about 3 years ago. I won't go into it, but I'll never do it again. Okay. Okay, we got enough people here. I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go to my website, it's BratBusters.com. You can get my free behavior board, my courses. You can look into coaching with me if you want. It's a huge wait list, but I will get to it eventually. Sorry, I want to do that tonight, actually. I want to check it out. Okay. And also the podcast is called BratBusters Parenting Podcast. It's on all the platforms, and we save it on YouTube. My daughter and I work together. We do the podcast together. She's in charge of all my marketing and planning. Every so often, someone will say, "Oh, your daughter works for you." No, no, she does not work for me. She does all the marketing and all the planning, and we work together very much so. She has a huge say in everything. Well, she tells me what to do, basically. Okay, so let's get going with your questions. I like to mix it up too. If I get a lot of the same questions, I'll just go through. I need to mix it up. And also, if you have any questions on anything regarding parenting and you like what I'm saying and you want to know my advice on it, you can literally go in my podcast where we go into a lot more detail, or you can Google BratBusters, tantrums, BratBusters, hitting, BratBusters, anything, and you'll get tons of videos. I've done thousands of videos. So it's all that information's out there for free, I think. The only thing that isn't out there is the potty training. Like everything else is pretty much out there. It's just not in great detail, obviously. That's the courses more. But potty training, it's a whole system. So I don't have that free out there. It's just on my courses. Okay. You have to put down the age, by the way, so I can answer. Okay. Oh, you came over from Facebook, I think. I don't recognize the name, but the question I remember. My son is 2.5. He throws sometimes strong tantrums up until he throws up. So how can I stop the throwing up without giving into the tantrums? That you got my hands tied here. I don't think you can. Like, that's a tricky one. So they get so worked up that they throw up. They usually stop doing that at around 2. Sometimes older. I've known older kids who would get so mad they stick their fingers down their throat to make themselves sick, just to make the parents mad. I'm not condoning that you want a kid to be throwing up, but I still, he's 2. Is he 2? 2.5. Oh. I might use indirect redirection. I would let the kid throw up, probably, to be honest. Let him have it out. Let him just get it out of his system. They tend to stop doing it when they realize it doesn't work. But if you don't want that, if you're worried about it, then you can use indirect redirection. So you're not saying anything to the child, but you might go over and pick up one of his favorite books and just start reading on your own, sort of thing. And he might come over and join. So it's indirect redirection. You're doing something you know he'd like to join in with, if when he gets his sanity going again. Anyway, so yeah, you can try indirect redirection, but I would be more likely to let the kid just get sick. I'd have a bucket handy and just, I've known kids who do that, and they don't like to do it. And when they realize it doesn't work, they usually stop doing it by around 2. And he's 2.5. Yeah. He might still do it for a bit. So I scroll ahead to make sure people are still here when I answer. Okay, so 4-year-old really struggles with temper. The calmer you are as a leader, the more it has a huge effect on them, calms them down. I was just talking to someone today, and they were saying, and I just go on, like when I'm coaching someone, a lot of what I talk about is just how you look, how you talk, your facial expressions, your tone of voice, body language. And if a kid has a real problem with temper, so he gets upset very easily, if the calmer you are, the more likely he is to sort of follow your lead. And, like, let's say you're disciplining. This is how I would discipline a kid. This is my tone of voice. I would say, I'll tell you what, you broke a rule, so here's what we're going to do. See, that's how I talk. There's no anger in it. It's very calming. And when you get better at this, it tends to calm them down. Okay. There's no shaming, no blaming, no saying you shouldn't do that or you know better. That's shaming and blaming and bullying. I don't like it. I don't talk like that. So just say, oh, okay, so you made a poor choice. You broke a rule there. So let me think. Yeah, I know what we'll do. So then I follow through. If you got the behavior board, you go straight to the behavior board. Okay. That's how I talk when I'm disciplining. And I don't go fast. I talk low and slow. I go, I'll tell you what we'll do. Yeah. Okay. Here's what's going to happen. Okay. So we're going to do that and blah, blah, blah. Tends to calm them down. They're watching you. They're not really listening to you even, but they're watching you. Your body language is so important. When they get about 8 or 9, the language is very important too. But 7 and under, they're watching you. All their personality is formed in the first 7 years. Some scientists just finished a huge 50-year study. I've been saying this forever, but I'm sure lots of other people have too. The first 7 years is when they form their personality. And it's done through observation. It's not done through listening. It's done through watching you. So if he's got a real wild temper, make sure you stay as calm as possible. Okay. Okay, I'm starting to implement the behavior board with my 15-year-old girl who feels entitled. I know that's my fault. Any hints moving forward? Yeah. I'll read out my top 5 tips for parenting teenagers. It's my favorite age, by the way. Okay. My top 5 tips for teens, parents of teens, is listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with, or they will shut you out. If they want your advice, they'll ask for it. They already know it anyway. Number 2, you negotiate as much as possible. Like go something like this. Hey, I want your dirty dishes in the dishwasher before you leave the kitchen from now on. What do you want from me? Reciprocity. You got to give respect to get it, right? Number 3, don't sweat the small stuff with teenagers. If they do something stupid and it's not a big deal, just say, well, that was stupid. Do you want to hear what I did when I was your age? Or do you want to hear what I did yesterday? In other words, it's okay to make mistakes. You just want to be accountable for them, okay? Number 4, don't leverage the good times to discuss the bad times. So parents usually say at this point, well, when do we discuss the bad times? You don't. What's the point? You deal with bad behavior, have consequences for it, appropriately so with teenagers. Things do shift and change a lot with teens. But you don't discuss it. They already know right from wrong. Why are you discussing it? It's like if you're pulled over for a speeding ticket, they're not discussing it with you. They just say, tell you why you've been pulled over. Then they give you a ticket. And then they say, drive carefully, have a nice day. They don't say, you shouldn't do that. Why would you do that? Are you going to be speeding again? So what are you going to do next time? Are you going to stop and think before you speed? Yeah, they don't do that, right? And they're trained in this calm leadership stuff when they do, especially when they do traffic stops. Anyway, like some of my clients are police. They say, yeah, that's how they're trained. It's the same thing. You want to make sure that you stay calm. And discussing the bad times is not a good thing to do. What's the point behind that? I never understand that. I never did it. What's the point behind discussing bad times? What's the point? They already know right from wrong. So discussing it does nothing, really. Okay. Number 5, you can be a right fighter or you can be happy. With teenagers or any adult relationship, really. You can be a right fighter or you can be happy. Even if you know you're right and you're arguing with a teenager and they might know they're wrong and they know you're right, they're still going to die on that hill. If you get into an argument with a teenager, they'll usually die on that hill. They'll keep fighting you, right? So what's the point? Just say, let's just talk about it later, or let's just drop it. Don't say, we'll talk about it after you've calmed down. That's rude. That's an accelerator. It's an insult. So just say, let's just talk about it later. So yeah, you can be a right fighter or you can be happy. Can't be both. You know what? I was just talking to someone, a client last week, and I said, you know how you think later on when someone's coming at you or whatever, it's a negative, discussion. And you think later, gee, I wish I'd said that. I used to be really good at that. I was very good at I never thought, gee, I wish I'd said that. What a good response. Because I said it. I was very quick with stuff like that. And then I realized as I got older, that is not a likable quality. Even if you know you're right and you're saying something that person should hear, because they're being really rude or whatever, it's not a likable quality. Arguing is never likable. There's no point. You can't change other people anyway. So, but yeah, I realized as I got older, you get wiser as you get older, right? But yeah, you get more wrinkles, but more wisdom too. And it's not a likable quality. Being right is not likable. You live in Australia too. Excellent. That's where my kids were raised. I was only in Australia for like 20 years. But yeah, I loved it there. I love the weather. Oh my God, I loved it. We were up in Brisbane. It was pretty hot up there. You got a 15-month-old who won't come when called. That's right. Yeah. If they won't come, just go and get them, or get them before you need to call. Like, don't call them first, because then you're turning it into a game. If you need them to come and get their diaper changed or something, just grab their hand first and say, okay, let's go change your diaper. And then you've already got them. So yeah, you tend to turn that into a game, or you allow it to be turned into a game. So yeah, just make sure you got their hand first. It's like when parents say, every time I tell my kids we're leaving now, if they're at the park or something, they take off. And I say, why on earth would you say we're leaving now until you've got their hands? I would have their hand first. And then I'd say, okay, we're going now. If you've got runners, if you've got kids who are going to take off on you. So you're kind of enabling that. Okay, this is comes up all the time. You're asking me, how do I control myself? This is My Coffee Name is Susan on YouTube. Do you have any advice on how to calm down when your 6 and 8-year-olds are inducing rage? So I can't help you with that. It's along this, like, that's up to you. I can tell you what to do, but making you do it, that's up to you. That's like, I could teach you how to lose weight or get fit, but I'm not driving you to the gym and I'm not putting a padlock on your fridge. That's up to you. It's like that. It's that self-control is all on you. I can't help you with your own self-control. I can't. Like, I remember once years ago, I used to teach fitness, and someone asked me, they said, well, yeah, fine. I know I'm fine once I'm here, but how do I get myself to the gym? And I don't know, like, what do you want me to do? Go pick you up? Like, that is your challenge. Your challenge is controlling yourself. I can't help you with that. That is the hard part with all this, controlling your emotions. Fake it till you make it. That's all I can tell you. Like, I don't have a pill you can take to calm down when your kids are driving you nuts. Brisbane. I don't want to hear about it, Jackie. We're in the middle of winter here. I don't want to hear how hot Brisbane is today. I just don't want to hear it. I cried when I left Brisbane because I knew I wasn't going back. I came back to look after my mom. She was in her 80s in Canada here. And so, yeah, I cried when I left, I'll tell you. That weather is just wonderful. It's funny, when we first moved to Canada, my kids were 15 and 10. And the very first time they saw frost in our backyard, they ran out to make a snowman. They'd never seen frost. They thought it was snow. Oh, that was cute. Okay. No, I wouldn't attach it here. This is Steph Fry. A 7-year-old daughter doesn't like her hair being brushed. Can this be positive consequence? I get to brush her hair for 5 to 10 minutes. In other words, if she breaks a rule, you get to brush her hair for 5 to 10 minutes. That's the consequence. I wouldn't do that because there's such different departments. And yeah, I just wouldn't. I don't want to go on about it too much, but you can kind of get where I'm going with this. It's like, oh, you get to brush your teeth. Yeah, because then what happens if she never breaks a rule? You never get her teeth brushed and you never brush her hair. I remember my daughter, we still laugh at this. She danced like competitively, and getting those hairdos, I'll tell you, were awful. But I was really good at hair. Backstage, I was in charge of hair with all the girls, like if there's quick costume changes or whatever. But I used to use just plain conditioner in a spray bottle with some water and spray it there. Her hair was always really wet before I brushed it out. She said it still hurt, but it wasn't as bad. So yeah, that's what I did. But it's hard, They've got long, lovely hair. It's got to be brushed, right? Oh, I don't discuss autism here. That's only in coaching. That's it. Yeah. My 15-year-old asked why there's less consequences for the parent, because you're going to do it. That's why. Okay. That's the difference. Say, well, I will be doing it for sure. So that's why. But you know what I would do is if I messed up and didn't do the consequence, I would even do this. Or you could even say to them, you're absolutely right, but you're going to do it. That's why. So, but I would say, I'll tell you what, if I ever forget to do the consequence or don't want to do it, then you get to pick a whopper for me. And you got to negotiate it though. So yeah, I totally get that. It's a good question. Whenever I'm working with parents of teenagers, after I've been working with them for a while, sometimes the teenager will say, can you ask that lady if she thinks you're being fair right now? And the parents often come on the next session. They go, can you believe they asked that? And I go, actually, I agree with them. So, because it's really fascinating. Teenagers sort of get me, even though I don't meet them, but they get that this is leadership and leadership is giving respect to get it. So if they don't feel respected, they challenge their parents to ask me about it. And they're always right. I always agree with the teenager. I say, they're right. You weren't being fair. So it's quite interesting. Oh, oops. Sorry, I got to run. I got to go over to TikTok now if you want to join me over there. If not, check out my website, BratBusters.com. You can see my free behavior board by bootcamp courses. You can look into coaching. There is a big wait list for that, but I'll get to it eventually. Or you can, what else? Oh yeah, podcast. BratBusters Parenting Podcast. It's on all the platforms, and you can watch it on YouTube if you want, because that's where we put it. So, and they come out every Tuesday and Thursday. Anyway, thanks so much. I'm hopping over to TikTok now. Happy parenting. See, I'm staying on track with my time. I usually lose track of time. It's just I got some more work to do tonight. So there we go. TikTok. I don't know if anyone was following this guy on Facebook, but after a year of complaining about this Joel Mayo, he was using all my videos on Facebook and making money off people. They were signing up, paying for a subscription, and then he never delivered anything. Actually, I think he was trying to sell the behavior board. And I give it away for free, so I don't know what he was doing anyway. And he never even did it. So anyway, he's finally shut down. Facebook shut him down. Took a whole year, but anyway, I don't like scammers. I don't like that stuff. No one does, it didn't really bother me that much, but it bothered me when he started taking money. I don't care if people are getting viewers and sponsorships. That's a little bit different, maybe, because he had 80,000 followers on Facebook just using my videos. So yeah, and taking people's money and not giving them anything. And then people were doing some research, and then they'd come to me and saying, I didn't get my blah, blah, blah. Well, it wasn't me that they paid, right? Oh, well, there's lots of thieves out there. I'm glad he was shut down, though. There's lots of those people out there. That's you can't really do that. You can't worry about it. Okay. Oh, cute. Became the number 11 fan in the fan club. I have no idea how TikTok works. By the way, a lot of people think I'm making a fortune on here because I've got almost 1 million followers on TikTok. But I'm in Canada. They don't pay Canadians any money at all. They don't like us. I don't know why. But anyway, so yeah, I thought we're one of the few countries in the world that China doesn't give any money to on TikTok. That's okay. I'm not complaining. But a lot of people think, oh, you must be racking in the dough. No, not in TikTok, that's for sure. Okay, help. I'm a single parent, 3, 5, and 7. All my kids are spoiled. It's my fault. So that's not a question, but you're not doing them any favors. A lot of parents spoil their kids because if they are a single parent, they often feel bad if you've gone through a divorce or something. You're trying to overcompensate. It's never a good thing to do. What's okay to do, if you feel like you want to do something nice for your kids, is do experiences with them, but don't buy them stuff. Like my kids knew we did traveling. We went to nice places and that, traveling or to resorts and that, but you never saw us in a gift shop. Like we were never buying anything in a gift shop. We didn't spoil them with stuff, but we did do nice experiences with them. Okay. So yeah, and that's doing stuff with them. That's sort of bonding, connecting, right? Whereas just buying them stuff, you're not doing them any favors. I've had clients who bought their 16-year-olds brand new, very expensive cars. A lot of people have a lot of money, right? And very expensive cars. And then the teenager has complained about the finish on the paint. So the parent sends it back and has the paint refinished. I would send it back, but they wouldn't be getting it. Well, they wouldn't get it in the first place. I don't think a 16-year-old needs a $200,000 vehicle, but that's just me. You're not doing them any favors by giving them stuff, by making all that too. I believe they should learn to work. I like a good work ethic with kids. And if they've never had to work for anything, who was it? I'm not sure who it was. It was some big celebrity, very wealthy. And they had their kids had to do chores. They told the maids, they had live-in maids, and they said, never go near our kids' rooms or bathrooms. So they all had their own en suites. And the kids were responsible for making keeping their room clean and their bathrooms. I thought, wow, smart, eh? Okay, so I am on YouTube at the same time. That's where all the lives are saved. Okay, this is Dylan on YouTube. Can you give advice for my kid who always seems exhausted midday? This is a 4-year-old. Midday and onwards. We do quiet time as she doesn't nap, but she does lay down quietly sometimes. She ends up super tired by 3 to 4 and bedtime at 7. So she's sleeping because you said, then you went on to say she wakes up around 6:30 to 7. So she's sleeping 12 hours. I can't comment on that because I would go to a doctor and say, can we just make sure she's getting the right nutrition or whatever? I would personally, if I was really concerned, I would have her checked over by a medical professional, right? Practitioner. But yeah, so I don't want to give advice on that. Just, I'm sure she's fine, but you know what I'm saying. So she has quiet time. Both my kids stopped regular naps at around 12 months old. They still have they usually would fall asleep at some point, but they were accidental naps, like in the car or something, but they just didn't need a lot of sleep. And then they didn't sleep much at night either. So, and they weren't active kids. Like they were normal, but they weren't hyperactive kids or anything. So, exactly what we are doing. Yeah, I would have that checked out just to make sure, just to get the all clear. And then, I don't know. I knew someone, I had a neighbor once years ago, and they had kids who slept like unbelievable. I won't go on about how it was unbelievable how much these kids slept. What was interesting about that is so did the parents when they were growing up. I think one of them in particular, so did the grandparents. They all just needed a lot of sleep, and they were all healthy people. Some people just need more sleep than others. So I'm not saying that's the case, but I remember I used to follow this comedian. What's his name? I can't remember. Anyway, I used to follow this comedian, And he said, we are marathon sleepers in our family. He said the longest one of their family members slept was 36 hours. This wasn't on a drunken binge or anything. 36 hours straight. They'd get up, sleepily pee, maybe once. But yeah, isn't that bizarre? The sleeping family. How do you teach patience? I don't. I teach you what to do, and then it's your job to have the patience to do it. That's like saying, I used to teach fitness. I can teach you how to get fit, but I can't teach you how to get yourself to the gym. That's your challenge, right? Yeah, that's up to you. That's the self-control. Yeah, it's like dieting. I can teach you how to diet. Well, I'm not qualified to do that, but anyone else could teach you. You can go to a diet center, but they don't teach you how to not eat that chocolate cake in the fridge. That is the hard part. I remember once someone said to me, they said, oh, well, how do you stay slim? And I said, if I have to lose some weight, I got to fill that hunger pain for, a bit. And then they said, well, I want to lose weight, but I never want to feel hungry. And I said, well, the hunger is your body eating its own fat. So I don't know how you can lose weight without that. It's kind of like this. You got to go through some pain to get what you want, right? It's like that. And another one I had when I used to teach fitness, and someone said to me, I said, well, what's your goal? And they said, well, I want to look like you, because I used to teach fitness. And I said, well, and they said, well, what do you do? And I said, well, I'm here every day. And then they said, well, no, I want to look like you, but on 2 days a week. And I didn't know how to answer that. I thought, so they're just completely disregarding all the work I put in, but they want the same results. If there was a shortcut, I'm sure I would have found it. But there's no shortcuts to this. Stuff's hard. Stuff that's really worthwhile is hard to do. So, dieting, fitness, you got to put in the time. Parenting and staying calm. I teach calm leadership, not angry leadership. I teach calm leadership. You got to fake it till you make it, right? You never want to look angry, frustrated, or disappointed in your kids. It brings out the worst in them, makes them feel bad. That's why. And if they feel bad, they do bad. If they feel good, they do good. That's the pool story. You can check that out. You can Google BratBusters pool story if you haven't seen it. It explains how I deal with kids. I focus on the good kid, but I deal with bad behavior, but then I focus on the good kid because if they feel good, they do good. But if you look angry, frustrated, or disappointed, they feel bad. So they're going to do bad. My 1-year-old throws things down when she's upset. She's only 12 months old. Yeah, we'll just make sure she doesn't have anything that's, don't give her anything really dangerous to throw. But yeah, they're going to try stuff. Yeah, they're going to do stuff. You just say no and redirect. She's still a baby. Just say no, and then you redirect. Let's go read a book. Oh, I don't answer daycare questions because I'm not qualified. I teach parenting. Very different. Daycare, teaching, schools, that's all business. I teach personal relationships with kids. So just parenting. Like when I was mentoring kids, I was kind of mothering them in a way, like, that one-on-one stuff. I've never worked with big groups of kids or anything. Well, I have, but it's not my thing. I don't enjoy it. I like the connection. Well, someone asked, how do I stop the pacifier? I'll tell you what I did with my son. Pacifier, dummy, soother, whatever you want to call it. We lived in Australia, and we were going to visit my family in Canada when he was 18 months old. And I wanted to take the dummy away from him a lot sooner, but I thought, no, we're traveling. It wasn't a big deal. I knew I'd get it away from him soon, but I thought, no way am I going to take that dummy away from him. And we've got like a 24-hour trip to Bank. At the time, it was 24 hours with a stopover in the middle, So I thought, there's no way I'm going to take that dummy away. I'm going to need it on that flight. Anyway, do you know he never slept for 24 hours? Anyway, he was really good, but his eyes were this big. It was weird. But anyway, so when we got home, I thought, that's it. He's 18 months old. We had a good trip. Come home. And I had jet lag, and so did he. So we were really tired. And I thought, that's it. We're home now. He's 18 months old. This pacifier is going away. So I said to him, okay, no more dummy. You're a big boy now. Let's put all the dummies in this little bag. Now, he's only 18 months old. He's not really understanding what I'm doing. But I had him help me put all the dummies in the bag. And then I carried him out to the big wheelie bin in the garage with the bag in his hand. And then I opened up the bin. I said, okay, bye-bye dummies. And he threw them in. I said, that's it now. Bye-bye, no more dummies. But I also replaced it with something. I bought him this sippy cup that had sort of a straw that he could sort of chew on a little bit, but it was safe. But anyway, so I bought him something to replace it with. He drank so much water, and I used to use cloth diapers. He drank so much water. I was changing his diaper every 30 minutes all day long. Do you know he never asked for a dummy once, but he drank water all day long. And but he never asked for a dummy once. Now, every time he'd go like this looking for the dummy, he'd go to look at me and I'd look away really fast. There was no way I was going to get eye contact with him because I knew he probably would have cried, right? So I just pretended I didn't notice. But yeah, I didn't expect it to be that easy, but it was. But he also knew, he was only 18 months old, but he was starting to know that when mom says something, it's going to happen. Like he didn't always like it, but he was starting to understand that. Responsible for my emotions. Yep. We're responsible for our emotions. No, I can't help you with your emotions. Nobody can. You're responsible for your own emotions. And that's the anger and all that stuff. Good way of putting it. I should write that down. We're all responsible for our own emotions. So I got to write that down. That's a good way of putting it. Why didn't I think of that? So simple. For our own emotions. Yeah, I can't help you with that. It's like, how do I, a friend asked me about dieting. How do I not want that chocolate cake in the fridge? I don't know. Like, it's not my problem. Like, I can't help you with that. Okay. This is Pug in a Rug. Cute name. Just to say, oh, shoot. Just flipped on me. Sorry. And there it is. I listened to all your advice. How would you change it if a new sibling, regressing toddler? Okay, so the toddlers, let's say 2 years old, you got a new baby coming in the house. There is going to be some transition upsets. You can't avoid that. You can't prepare a toddler for what's going to happen. That's ridiculous. I'm sure there's advice out there, how to prepare. And then they'll say, it worked. You might just have a really easy toddler who wouldn't have been upset having a new baby come in the house anyway. It is a transition time. You got to expect some upsets. Everyone wants to avoid the transitions, the upsets, the tantrums. I don't do any of that. I let all that happen, right? But then I deal with it once it does. I never try and micromanage a child's behavior, ever. That's their business, none of my business. But when they make a poor choice, then I come in with a consequence, you see? So they're going to go through transitions. It's really normal. And then I would just make sure I keep that newborn safe. I had a friend who had a darling little 2-year-old boy. And we used to get together quite often because they were both our kids are both really gentle little boys. So it was a really good mix, right? Anyway, she had this cute little baby girl, and her 2-year-old, sweet, gentle little boy was sick of this newborn after about a week, picked her up out of the bassinet behind mom's eyes and threw the baby on the floor. They don't understand concussions and all that. They're just they're babies themselves still, really, So anyway, she was horrified, but he didn't know, right? You can't prepare them for what's happening. Okay. Oh, thanks so much for your support. I appreciate that. Yeah, I try and do lives. I used to do them for a couple of years, pretty much every day. And then we got super busy with business. Then my daughter came on board with the business, helped me out. And I never quite got back into the habit of doing them every day. But I love doing them. You know why I think that is too? Is that we do the podcast, and I think that's I'm answering questions on there too. So I'm kind of getting more of my fill of questions that way too, because we film probably 3 podcasts a week and we post 2 a week. So and it takes a long time. It takes her probably a full day to edit a podcast. So it takes me a couple hours to film them. It takes her a couple days to edit. How can I make the behavior board fun, enticing when we first started? You don't need to make everything fun. Don't be a pleaser parent. You know how much I hate that stuff. You don't have to make everything fun. It's okay if they don't like it. That's okay. Don't worry about it. You're not trying to make everything fun. You're not juggling for your kids. If you want to make everything fun, how do we make chores fun? How do we make punishments fun? It makes you sound like you're scared of your kids. You don't have to make everything fun. Don't go there. I remember this was a couple years ago, and someone asked during a live, how do we make chores fun? Because I don't want my kids to do anything that isn't fun. I thought, wow, what kind of employees are they going to be when they're adults? No, I don't want to do that. That's not fun. It's okay that they learn that some stuff is hard. They don't have to like everything. Right? That's important. It's really important because that's when they learn self-discipline. It's through self. You don't need self-discipline to do fun stuff, but you need it to clean the toilet. Well, that's not true with me. I love cleaning. That is fun to me. Cooking. God, I hate cooking. I cook with hate. I hate it that much. I really hate it. I did it for 30 years for a family, and I made everything from scratch too because I'm really a health nut. But yeah, oh God, I hate cooking. What a nightmare. I loathe it. I don't mind preparing food, and I love cleaning up after it's been made. So I'll do all the shopping, all the prep work, but don't ask me to put anything in a frying pan and stand there. Ugh, God, absolutely loathe it. But I love scrubbing toilets and that, so go figure. Okay. Do you like Hunt Gather Parent book? I've never read it. I've never read a book on kids or parenting ever. Like, why would I? All my information comes from my own experience with hundreds of kids I've worked with. So they taught me everything. No one can teach you better than kids. So I went right to the source. And some of my clients are child psychologists, and it's funny. I couldn't do their job, by the way. That's business. Obviously, I can't do their job. I have no qualifications for that. But parenting's different. Parenting's personal. It's completely different. So even though they have tons of experience with kids and they've probably written books on them, some of them have, they still struggle with their own kids, which is funny, right? And then they're so embarrassed, but I say, I'm not here to judge. I'm here to help, right? So yeah, parenting's not like any other relationship because it's personal. It's personal. Thoughts on an 8-year-old who argues over everything? Well, why are you arguing with them? That takes two to argue. Okay, well, let's say you say, okay, or have you made your, oh, no, that's not a good one because you want to have chores and it's all laid out for them. But say, okay, we're going now. No, I don't want to go now. Say, well, we're going anyway. And then if they don't, then there's a consequence. I don't argue with kids. I never try and micromanage a kid. I never tell a kid what to do. They know what has to be done. If they choose not to do it, then there's a consequence later on. That's their choice. It's not my problem. It's their problem, right? You chose to get that consequence. Nothing to do with me. You want to empower your kids so that they know that life's up to them. I used to say to my kids, well, it's all your choice. If you break a rule, you get a consequence. They got that from a very young age because they understood that because I told them that, right? I said, I don't want to be bothered disciplining you. What a pain in the butt. So just make good choices and you'll never have to be disciplined. It's all up to you, right? But also I was accountable. If I messed up, my kids loved it. Mom, you messed up. You said you were going to do that and you forgot. So I was accountable too. They loved it when I messed up. How do I get away from the ultimatum? I mean, the threat, it's fear-based parenting. Yeah, if you don't do that, you'll do that. Yeah, you'll get that. That'll happen. Yeah, don't do that. Just use a behavior board. It's all done for you, sort of. And you're on there too. So yeah, the ultimatums never work. It's threat-based, it's fear-based, it's intimidation-based, and it's not good. Yeah, make good choices and you'll never be disciplined. Yeah, exactly, right? You'll never get a speeding ticket if you never speed, right? Right? You never go to jail if you don't break the law, right? It's all up to you. It's all up to you. So I'm going to turn off my alarm. It's going to keep going. Sorry, just a sec. I think that's why, when I was disciplining not my own kids, really, they kind of were sorted out. But if I was disciplining kids, they never really were mad at me. They'd just say, oh, sorry, Lisa. They got it. That's their choice. But also, if I messed up, they got to discipline me, right? What does a behavior board look like? It's just every member of the family, 3 and above, they're on there. Everyone has a rule and everyone has a consequence. Kids have 2 consequences. It's the behavior board's free on my website. It's BratBusters.com. It's actually a mini course. It's completely free. It also has a section on toddlers because they don't go on the behavior board yet. So it's 2 little mini courses. If you want more, you got to go up to the boot camp course. That's not free. And someone was sort of, I don't know what to call it, complaining, but they said it's not fair that, because I often say there's a huge wait list for coaching, and that's one-on-one with me. And that's sort of, I mean, if you want to hire me for coaching, that's fine, but I don't really sell that really. Like what I mean is I don't talk about it a lot. But someone sort of said it's not fair because most of my clients rehire me, so they always get precedence, right? Then I don't get to the wait list for ages because my existing clients rehire me. And someone said, that's not fair. I'm not going to abandon people I've already put all that time into who want my support. So it doesn't make any sense at all. You see, it is fair because they've already invested all that time and money with me. And I've been investing all this time with them. So of course they're going to take precedence, right? Okay. 2-year-olds have limited language. Was that a question or was there, make it simple? Well, 2-year-olds, it's not about language. It's about actions. They're not about words. That's not their, it's like if you were learning French and you've only been maybe hearing it once in a while and it's not your main language. English is. Well, actions are their main language. They're watching you. They're not listening to you. They do listen, but when they're upset especially, they're not listening. But they will listen, but it doesn't always go in the same way we think it does. They'll parrot what you say to them. Now, you shouldn't have hit your friend. You should share. Yes, mommy. Yes, I know. And then, parents say this to me quite often. They'll say, I told him, he said he was sorry. He said he wouldn't hit again. And then he hit again. I said, right. What's your point? He's 2. He wasn't listening to you at all. At all. Alternatives for no. Why would you want an alternative for the word no? I don't understand that. What's wrong with the word no? Do you not like to hear it? You don't like anyone to say no to you? Yeah, that's reality. No, hearing the word no is reality. Nothing wrong with that. If I did something wrong, I want someone to tell me no. So what do you do if they're whining at bedtime? I put them to bed anyway. It doesn't mean anything to me. He tells me no back. It's cute finger and all. Yeah, I wouldn't let them see me laughing at that. Oh, my granddaughter, probably a couple of months ago now. She was almost 2. And she just turned 2. Anyway, a couple of months ago, she started saying no. Like they discovered the word no and it gets a reaction, right? So anyway, and she was just starting to say no to everything. Funny thing is she's actually a really easy toddler. So, but she'd say no and then she'd do it anyway. They'd say, oh, put that away. And she'd go, no, but then she'd do it anyway. I don't think she knew the meaning of it, but she just started saying, it's funny how they all discovered the word no. It's hilarious. She just didn't quite get that you're not supposed to do what you said no about. Okay. So I'm just trying to find your original question here. I'm looking for something. I can't go back too far. Okay, no, it's too far back because sometimes people ask a second question, but if I can't find the original. How to react to the no's, just move on. Yeah, just do what you got to do anyway. Like, my granddaughter would say, like if I had to cross the street, she had to hold my hand. And I'd say, okay, hold my hand. And she'd say no, but then I'd just take her hand and do it anyway. Like no matter what she said, I'm holding her hand. So I wouldn't discuss it with her though. There's no point, I'd just say, well, yeah, I'm holding your hand and that's it. And off we go. So yeah, just follow through with what needs. Don't give the no any power because then they'll keep using it, right? So. This isn't an option. Good to say. Why do you need to say? Why are you so afraid of the word no? I don't understand that at all. I just say no. What's wrong with that word? Kids don't care. They don't. Yeah. This isn't it. Why are you afraid of the word no? I don't understand that. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm guessing you don't like it. You're highly sensitive to hearing no, or I don't know. But yeah, I just say no. How do I stay calm when they say no? I don't know. I don't know. That's your job. You're like someone said, you're responsible for your own emotions. There you go. Someone just gave me that line on here tonight. You are responsible for your own emotions and controlling them. That's like, if someone asked me dieting advice and they said, how do I not eat the chocolate cake in the fridge? That's your job, not mine. You see what I mean? I can't help you with your emotions. They're your responsibility. You have to learn how to control them. I'm so glad you gave me that. I never quite figured out how to say it. We're all responsible for our own emotions, anger, frustration, patience. We're all responsible. That is your challenge, though. Does anyone know where she is from? Who is she? Is that me? I don't know what you mean by where she's from. Anyway, I'm in Canada. That's okay. Okay. So someone said, this is Ashley on YouTube. My 9-year-old reacts too easily and gets so mad and doesn't control her anger. How do I teach her to be calm and control her reactions to others? They're usually watching you. And if she gets so angry, now she's 9, she gets so angry. She hasn't learned how to control her own emotions yet. I'm guessing you're not a leader. Leaders tend to calm kids down. They just do. I've worked with some pretty violent teenagers, and this stuff just works. It just calms them down. I won't go into how I dealt with the troubled teens because they weren't my kids. They were, but yeah, your calmness is what calms them down. It's like infectious because when you're a leader, you're their biggest influence. So they tend to be extremely influenced by you, by your emotions. So, yeah. Do you find it helps to read books about emotions so they can identify them? Why do they need to identify all these emotions? I don't talk like that. They need to feel them and do it, but you don't need to identify all those emotions. That's all the mini therapy session talk. I don't do that. Okay? Yeah, I don't talk like that. So they don't need to identify their emotions. They just don't need to. Because they already know them. They already get it. You want to label them. It's a new trend that parents want to do. They want to label all these emotions and discuss them all. I don't do that. I focus on fun with kids. That's all the emotion that they need. Their love language is fun. They don't need to discuss anger, frustration, jealousy. That's all the therapy session stuff. Don't do it. There's no point. That was a very simplistic way of answering that, but it's bigger. If you've been watching me for a while, you'll get it. Connection is everything. Discussing their big emotions does nothing, really. Is 2-year-old too young for timeout? I hate timeout. I wouldn't do it with any age. Can't stand it. I think it's mean. And also, a lot of people watch, like they might watch me, and then they might watch maybe, 10 other parenting coaches or 100 other people on parenting. You can't mix up our methods. Because they're meant to be used, it's like diets. You can't pick and choose what you like from different parenting coaches and try and put it together and expect it to work. That's ridiculous. It would never work because it's like dieting. You can't pick and choose what you like from different diets and expect to lose weight. It's like that. Everything that I teach is a system. Like if you were to throw time out into my calm leadership parenting, I invented that whole stuff. So if you were to throw time out into this, it would tank. I hate time out. I think it's mean. So yeah, I wouldn't do it. What you're saying is you're not even worth talking to. You go sit in a corner all by yourself. You think about what you did. Then afterwards, then you go and discuss what they did. It's just a disaster. And they're not thinking about what they did. They're sitting there feeling like garbage. That's all that's happening. They're over there feeling like crap. I would never do that to a kid. How to help a 3-year-old with impulse control. Consequences. Yeah. If they know there's a consequence for making a poor choice, eventually they'll learn and they'll stop making poor choices, right? It's all about consequences. There's no discuss it. Everyone wants to discuss everything. I know it's trendy, but it's crap, okay? It's about consequences, being accountable. That's how we all learn. We don't pay the rent and pay our taxes because there's been a big discussion around it. We do those things so we don't get kicked out and we don't go to jail, right? It's all consequences, being accountable. That's how we learn. That's how we control our own impulses. Because when we know if we don't, we might go to jail or we might get kicked out of our apartment or whatever. You see? We're like that. Why do you expect kids? You can just suggest that they don't make poor choices, but there's no consequence of it's not the discussion that makes any difference. It's not the understanding, because they already understand right from wrong past the age of about 2 to 3 in there somewhere. Okay. It's not the discussions that make any difference. It's squat. Makes no difference at all. They already understand right from wrong. Quit talking about it. It does nothing. It doesn't change behavior at all. Discussing bad behavior does not change bad behavior. It's the consequences that do. And your connection with your kid. What is your favorite phrase to use after a tantrum, 5 and under? What do you mean? Favorite phrase? What phrase are you looking for? I might say, oh, you all done? Do you want to go read a book? I don't discuss tantrums, ever. I think that's kind of mean. I don't discuss that stuff. It's like the pool story. If you pick that story apart, which I love that story. If you just Google BratBusters pool story, it'll pop up. I got tons of videos on it. I just can't tell it again. I've told it thousands of times. If you pick that story apart, there's a message in pretty much every little spot in that story. Did I discuss what that kid did? Did I discuss it? Why not? Why would I never discuss that? I deal with it. That's done. It's over. Do I discuss it? No. Why would I not do that? Why would I not discuss a tantrum? What's the point? Well, I put my focus on the good kid. I put my focus on the positive. I control the narrative, the energy. It's all positive. The more you discuss bad behavior and big bad emotions and all that stuff, it's just awful. It's all negative, right? I focus on the good kid. Fun is their love language, not discussing big feelings and big emotions. Doesn't mean that they can't talk to you, but certainly not around bad behavior. Nope. Afterwards, they're driving down the car, everything's great. Then they can talk about anything. It's funny because kids really tend to open up to me because I am, I'm a safe place to land. But when they're naughty and acting out and everything's heightened, I do not discuss any of that stuff. Nope, not at all. And there's no need to discuss it because once you're a leader, it calms them down and they don't tend to make poor choices anyway. So why do you need to discuss all this? Just follow through so that they do make good choices. They are good kids. Then you don't even have to discuss all the bad feelings and bad behavior, right? Right? Does that make sense? Will you be offering a class for therapists to learn your modality to teach to our kids? I'm not qualified to do any of that. And I wouldn't waste my time doing that because I'm too busy helping parents. Yeah, I can't. I'm not qualified to teach therapists. Not at all. I stay in my lane. I'm very careful with that. The behavior board is at the very top of the website. Someone asked where it is. I'm going to look it up here. If you go to BratBusters.com, it's in the black line. The very top, it says get access. That is the behavior board. Because it says free BratBusters behavior board plus toddler basics. It's a mini course. It's all free. Not everything I have is free, but that's free. Most of what we do is free. Making money is great. We're a business. We have to make money, put food on the table, right? So, but my main goal is getting this message out. I want you to have fun parenting. My main goal is not that you have good kids. That's a byproduct of all this, okay? That you have happy kids. My main goal is that you have a happy family. I want you to enjoy your kids. I want you to wallow in family life. I want you to have fun. That's my main goal. That's why I do this. It's very important to me. I've been teaching this for 20 years. I started volunteering with kids in 1971. I was 11 years old, and I was volunteering in daycare centers and babysitting at 11. I just always understood kids, and I really enjoy them. So, but I want you to enjoy parenting as much as I did. It was the most fun time of my whole life. I'm getting a little bit of that back now with my granddaughter. But I'm not her leader. I'm not her mother. I'm her grandmother. So it's a different role and I love it. But I'm getting a little bit of that maternal stuff out by, I have her once a week. So that's lovely. But the most fun time of my whole life was mothering. And I want you to enjoy parenting as much as I did. That's my goal. Happy parents, happy kids. not just raising nice kids. That's great. That's wonderful. But that's not my main goal. I love what I do, and I want you all to enjoy parenting. How to deal with hitting it. Feels wrong to remove myself. You're nearby. You're not getting on a plane and flying to another continent. You're right there. You're washing dishes. If they're hitting you, you say no, and then you just go and wash some dishes or something. Yeah, you're still there. Okay, does this work for kids with pathological demand avoidance? I'm not going to make any comment on that. And I don't want to tell you why. Yeah, basically, I've worked with all those kids, and my methods are the same with all kids. So yeah, I'm a leader. I'm not trying to fix kids here. I'm working on myself. When I was working with kids, they were all challenging. I was never asked to work with an easy kid. Now, if I was working, no matter what I'm doing, I'm always the same. Like, I'm the same Lisa. I'm very consistent. What you see is what you get. I'm like that with all kids, or teenagers or whatever. I work on myself. I'm not trying to fix anyone. But when you're a calm leader, they do look up to you and they do treat you really well. And it makes them feel good, right? So yeah, you work on yourself. You're not trying to fix kids here. We're fixing and teaching parents. Do you feel the same methods work for split households? You don't have to worry about what the other household does. You can suggest it if you find you're getting really good results in your place with this stuff, then you can suggest it, but you can't micromanage the other household. Sometimes I'll work with someone and they've divorced. They've got two households and it's a disaster because one's the authority and one's the pleaser and they're both fighting because they're. So what I usually try and do is get the ex on a call also, just separately or together, and just say, it's working in one house. Can you just, give us 3 weeks and see how it goes? And, I just want everyone to be happy, basically. So, but yeah, I try and get them on the same page, but if not, don't worry about it. You work on yourself and your own home life and whatever they do. The thing is that children are very drawn to a leader. Everybody is. We all are. Someone to look up to that, makes you happier, makes life better, right? We're all drawn to that. So your kids tend to form under your leadership. They always form. You've got more influence than anybody else, is what I'm saying. So they tend to form under a really calm, strong leader. And so yeah, don't worry about there's nothing you can do. You can't force someone else to do, an adult to do something you want them to do. Okay. For anyone who, I know I've mentioned this a couple times, I mentioned it on Facebook and Instagram. I don't know if I mentioned it here, but we got that Joel Mayo shut down on Facebook. He was mimicking me, like using all my videos and pretending to be me, Joel Mayo. And so yeah, after a year, I guess Facebook gets a lot of reports, scamming reports, and finally he was shut down. So I'm sorry if you lost money through him, but it wasn't me. So, because sometimes people would they'd send him money and then they didn't get anything. He'd just say, subscribe and here, pay whatever. And then people wouldn't get anything. So then people would do some research, find me thinking I was him. And I said, no, it had nothing to do with me. So, but there's a whole bunch of scammers out there. It just happens. But yeah, finally, Facebook sent us a message yesterday, said we shut him down. So that was good. So if anyone's given him any money, it wasn't me. And he's gone. I'm sure he's doing it with other accounts too. Whatever, he can do that. It just bothered me that parents were losing money. That's what bothered me about it. Oh, I'm not even going to read that Moonchild comment. I don't want to say that. I don't want to do that. That's just insulting. I won't talk about that. Ooh, did you hear that? Someone upstairs dropped something heavy. Okay. Okay, actually, I got to get going. I've still got work to do tonight. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. If you want to check out my website, it's BratBusters.com. You can get my free behavior board, my boot camp courses. You can look into coaching. I know it's a big wait list right now, but I will get to it eventually. I can't tell you when. It might be a month or three months. I don't know. But what happens is that a lot of people get tired of waiting if it's been a few months. So then they'll bail and hire someone else. So the wait list, the longer they've been on there, the less likely they are to hire me because they've probably moved on. So, or they just bought the course or something. So I never know when I'm going to get through that wait list. So apologies. I know it's frustrating, but anyway. And then you can look into the podcast. There's no wait list for that, and it's all free. So the podcast is called BratBusters Parenting Podcast. It's on all the platforms, and we save it on YouTube if you want to watch us. It's my daughter and I do it together. She works with me. She does all my marketing and all the planning. So she kind of tells me what to do. So she plans out the whole year for us. She does all that. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and I'll be back again soon, I hope. I used to do these lives every single day for a couple of years there, and then I just got too busy, and now I'm more organized. I could do them more, so I hope to get back into more regular routine with these. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. Happy parenting.